answering some of the questions that don't involve a show and tell. They're just more generalizable questions that I think we could answer, and we don't have anything to really show. So I'm going to read the question and then provide the answer. So the first question was, how should we instruct grazers to log snacks throughout the day? Should they log every eating occasion with the exact times, or can they log all snacks under a single time? For example, someone who snacks on sunflower seeds throughout the day, it may be easier to estimate the total amount of sunflower seeds eaten the entire day and log it as a single snack. Well, this is really a methodological question. It really depends on what your goal is as far as understanding eating. If it is to understand kind of how someone eats throughout the day, then logging in a number of snacks throughout the day might be the option. Or I agree with the suggestion of just logging it all in under just a snack. Just a snack is a food option or a meal option that you can select on the meal details page, and then they can report the amount that they have eaten for the whole day at maybe the time in which they finish snacking all day. So that might be an option as well. ASA24 is very flexible in that nature, where people can log things every minute of the day if they wanted, or just all at once. There is no hard and fast rule within the system that it has to be done one way or another. So that's really more up to the methodology and the research questions that you're trying to ask related to that. Similar question, similar to grazers. How should participants who drink water throughout the day be instructed to log their water consumption? And I would respond in a similar manner, in the sense that, with the exception of, water is often drank with meals. So if they are drinking it a part of their meal, then I would suggest they would probably want to report how much they drank when they ate, and they can just do it as a part of their lunch, their dinner, whichever meal they're drinking. And they're only reporting the amount that they drank, not the total amount. So if they're using a bottle like I have right here, it's nice and it's telling me how much I'm supposed to be drinking all day. But I can say, okay, I look at it quickly when I'm eating my lunch and see on the little thing how far, whatever I drank. And that's what I would report within the picture of the bottle that I pick in the tool, and then slide how much I drank during my meal. I sit here and drink water all throughout the day. So I might report as I drink through my meal, but I also might just pick just a drink. That's another option. And you can just have them report just a drink and have them report their total water consumption. Again, it goes back to the methodological question of, are you looking at are they drinking throughout the day? Are they drinking at specific meals, that type of thing? And then you would instruct your participants to report either way. The system can account for both ways. I know that wasn't a direct answer, but hopefully that answered the question. How concerned should we be with small differences in food items? Example, sub sandwich with minor differences in vegetable toppings. So ASA24 is based on the FNDDS USDA database. So it comes with recipes that are representative of what Americans are eating throughout the US. And they apply those recipes to report all that food. So a small difference in a food item should not be a big concern. How should we address specialty products that have been formulated to fit specific nutrient profiles? For example, food snacks that are considered keto, or tortillas that are considered low carb and might have higher than the usual fiber content. So if they can use the search system and find whatever is close to that. So for instance, they can search tortillas and report on the tortillas. If you want them to record that these are special keto tortillas and that you will be replacing the nutrients with that additional nutrient value during the post-processing. So what we would suggest is tell your respondents to enter items through the unfound food pathway, which I'll demonstrate in a little bit. And then when they're doing that, and make sure they say keto, tortilla chips, or keto, whatever. And then during the post-processing, you can find that food and replace it with a more specific nutrient value. The identify names of fast food restaurants in ASA24 database, example, McDonald's, Pizza Hut, etc. And the list would be helpful. I will share a list with Kirsten and the Tandem team that can distribute. We have 147 food list terms that have references to fast food. So we can give that to you so that you know what those are. How does staff instruct participants who already logged in and started ASA24 to save work, log out, and then log in later to finish their recall? So the way the system is going to be set up for this project is through what we call a single sign-on. So you will be having them go through your participant portal or whatever it is that the RCC is setting up. And they will have a link that goes right into ASA24. Within ASA24, there is a finished later button, and I'll point that out as I'm demonstrating. If the participant clicks that finish later, it will redirect them back to the portal of the RCC has set up, and then that will save their work. And it logs them out of ASA24. They can then go back in anytime within the same day, so up until midnight, using the link from the portal within your system to get back to their ASA24. So the quick answer is the finish later button. I noticed if I add tacos to a meal from the search list that in later steps, there were additional questions asking about specific ingredients and modification. This felt less burden than creating recipes or adding individual ingredients to meal. What other dishes do we have these built-in questions? So those include our salads, sandwiches. Sorry, I deleted the rest of the list. So
that's all right.
Salads, sandwiches. Yeah, Deirdre, do you want to jump in?
Yes. So salad and sandwiches, Mexican food items, ice cream with additions, with all the Jimmys and stuff on top, hot dogs, hamburgers, powdered breakfast drink. So, when you mix a protein powder with something, milkshakes, all different kinds of sandwiches, breakfast sandwiches, barbecue sandwiches, vegetable sandwiches. So all of those things allow you to enter the ingredients in your mix, it's not a recipe really, it's a mixture. You build a sandwich or a salad kind of thing.
And to demonstrate that process, now I'm going to share my screen and go through one of the questions, which is chicken salad sandwich made with Whole Foods chicken salad, which contains walnuts and grapes, on Dave's Killer's seeded bread, thin sliced bread, 1 tablespoon of mayo on the bread, and ½ a cup of arugula. So let me share my screen. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay. So this is our demonstration website. So it's asa24.nci.nih.gov/demo. You guys can feel free to play around and use this if you want to play with ASA24, as well as I believe the Tandem team has set up some test accounts that you can use. Either way will get you to the same place, and we are using the 2022 version. That is the version that you all will be using with some additional foods that we're adding specific for your project. So similar to this, your participants will click a link. It will log them in and bring them right to this page where they will select a language. ASA24 is available in both English and Spanish. I'm going to do this in English. This is going to go through the study parameters on what they need to report. So for a recall, this is from midnight to midnight the day before. I'm going to report on everything I eat and drank from Thursday, February 9th through Thursday, February 9th, midnight. So it's all yesterday for me. It will be an orientation for the user the first time they go through this. After they do this the first time, they won't see these orientation screens. And this is just to give them some background general information on what to expect when they go through ASA24, just the overview of the process, that it's 3 main steps followed by a review step. I'm going to go through this a bit quicker. Feel free to come in and look at this closer the next time you have a chance. So that will bring them to the main screen. And this is where we start. first thing to do, of course, is to report a meal. This process, I think you all have heard, is based on the AM/PM method, where you report all of your meals. And then once you've reported all of your meals, you report your foods. So there is a method to the madness on why we do things the way we do. So I'm just going to make up and pick breakfast. I'm going to say 10 a.m. These pieces are optional, and I believe they will be turned on for your study. So I've added my meal, and now it's going to ask me all the foods that I had in this meal. So for this particular example, I'm going to look for a chicken salad sandwich. I think I spelled that wrong, but that's okay, because it came up and it's the first item on the list. Another option that your participants might want to do, and that I will go through, is to add a recipe. Or you could filter to try and narrow down, or I'm going to scroll to the bottom of this list. This list is quite long because there's a lot of chicken salad sandwich processes, but at the bottom, I can't find what I'm looking for. We put it at the bottom because the hope is that they'll look through the list and it will be something on the list and they can find something close to what they've eaten or drank. So going back to the top, I picked chicken salad sandwich. I'm going to finish this meal just so that I can go through the steps of a chicken salad sandwich so that you can see how it works and how the multi-ingredient process steps are. All right. So again, I'm just going to, normally you would continue adding your meals and adding your main foods, and then you would go to next. I'm going to go backwards just so that I can demonstrate this one food, and then we'll go through on some of the other foods. This is the gap review. Again, just to let people know that they've missed certain periods in the day and they can fill them out. Yes, and we checked several times. All right, so for this one, I checked chicken salad sandwich. The first question is going to ask me where I got all the ingredients. This is the source question. And I'm going to say I got them at the grocery store. So the question is, was it on a bun, bread, or something else? So for this one, I'm going to select bread. It's going to ask me later more specifically about the type of bread, where I will be able to ask about that multigrain and the slice, which is the next item. This was multigrain. And this is where I will then designate thin. The sandwich had 2 slices. This was just a normal sandwich. And was there anything spread on the sandwich? I'm going to say yes. And when I say yes, I can add the mayonnaise. I think it was regular mayonnaise. A guideline for the amount of mayo per slice of bread is added to the sandwich. USDA determines that people are not good at estimating how much they put on a sandwich condiment-wise. So this one, I believe, does not have any follow-up questions. But it does ask if it was real, light, fat, etc. Let's say regular. All right, so then we ask what kind of meat, which I know sounds kind of odd because we're talking about a chicken salad sandwich, but we want to make sure that we are confirming that it is that type of sandwich and the meat, and it gives an opportunity for them to put other meats on their sandwich. This is a select all. So for here, it's asking if we had any salad dressing or mayonnaise that was used in the sandwich. They can select whatever kind. If they don't know what kind, they could also say don't know. So if it was prepared by, say, Whole Foods and they don't really know, they could enter don't know. And then how much meat, again, this would be how much chicken salad, and they could estimate maybe it was 1/4 of a cup. So were there any vegetables? Here they would say yes, and this is where we would enter the grapes and the walnuts. Is this, no, this is vegetables. So the grapes on the next one.
Arugula,
Yeah,
I
sorry,
think.
I got ahead of myself.
That's okay.
This is where I would enter the arugula, Deirdre.
Go ahead and choose lettuce, and
Lettuce.
then you'll get a second question about what kind of lettuce it was.
Oh, okay, thank you. Deirdre is much more familiar with all the pathways. And now it's going to ask, and that's where you can do the arugula. Was there any cheese? I don't think this one had any cheese, so we just say none. Any other ingredients? This is where we would say that, right, Deirdre?
Yeah, you can put the grapes and walnuts on here. And if you don't see it listed, we always have the other option. So I think there's nuts there. There are nuts.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you click other in ASA24, you're going to get a box like that to type in what it is. They have to type something in. And that's something you can look at in post-processing to see if there are any that you want to change the food code for.
And then it's going to ask you how much they actually ate. So I ate a full sandwich. And that's everything for this food and meal. And I'm going to say yes, because I want to keep going and have a chance to add some other examples. But as you can see, this is going to give you a full breakdown of all the questions and all the little pencils. They could go in and edit. So if they realize, oh, wait, no, I did have cheese on my sandwich, they could go in and say, yes, I had cheese. There was cheddar cheese. And then they would just go through and answer any questions related to that cheddar cheese. And then it would finish out. So they do have an opportunity after they've entered a food to go ahead and edit that food. The next question was mixed dishes. They continue to be a challenge, especially in South Louisiana. And then how do you consider mixed dishes where the energy and fat laden ingredients can vary widely from recipe to recipe? It's difficult to know proportions of ingredients when these foods are purchased from a vendor or restaurant. An example was jambalaya, which with red beans and rice and gumbo. People find it tiring when they're trying to report all the ingredients separately. How should they handle that? So in this case,
Amy, sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt. Could I ask a follow-up question on the chicken salad sandwich before you move on? So when you added grapes and walnuts, it didn't ask you to enter an amount for those. And so I'm just wondering, why is that? And is there a place that could be done, or is it just estimating an amount that would be proportional to the quarter cup of chicken salad that you put in?
It is. It's using guideline amounts that USDA has come up with.
Okay. So if
You could always add those.
Ask it, a person doesn't have to worry about entering a portion, because I guess the assumption then is that there's a built-in assumption to the website. But how does the person judge whether or not what the amount of grapes and walnuts, for example, were out of proportion to what ASA24 would enter?
Yeah, there would be no way for them to know what ASA24 is using. We get all kinds of reports. People are very detailed, and they would put the grapes and walnuts separately as an additional food, because they know they had 10 grapes and 2 tablespoons of walnuts or whatever. But there's no way for them to know what ASA24 is assuming. You'll know on the back end, but they don't know.
Yeah. So is your recommendation, if they know the amounts of those things, to enter them separately, or is it better to just go with the default of ASA24?
I think it's a methodological question.
Yeah.
That you're trying to get at nutrition wise. It's not, you know what I mean? The whole point of using a system like this and FNDDS as your database is that they are taking a lot of things in assumption, and that you are doing a generalizable using that type of information for a reason, as opposed to being that specific and detailed, that you will end up coming to the same conclusion. I believe, Deirdre and Thea, they did a study on kind of the other pathway and whether it made that significant amount of difference. And I believe it did not.
It didn't.
Okay. Oh, that's great to know. I'd love to see that paper.
Yeah, Deirdre can share that citation.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions before I jump on into the recipe module and the next question?
This is not a question, but I just, Gwen, I think it'd be good to, for the participants to learn to do, rather than add the additions as separate foods, to go through the questions as additions, because there may be things they didn't think of. So as nutritionists, I'm sure most of the people on this call have in mind that you want the grapes and you want but the participants, it would help them to go through the addition piece.
Well, and Lynn, thank you for saying that. It's based on AMPM. And so the same method of asking each of those things, what kind of bread was it? How many slices of bread? How, all of that is exactly how AMPM would ask about a sandwich. And it's to remind participants, hey, did you have any vegetables? Did you have cheese? So it reminds them to think about that.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, so I'm going to make changes so that I can get back to adding foods. So getting back to the question about jambalaya, red beans and rice, and gumbo, we do have typical responses that if you search for those foods, they are in there. But again, the recipe is based on some generic recipe and it might not be specific to what they want. And maybe someone wants to report some specific food or jambalaya or gumbo or red beans, rice that they always eat. And they do know the portions of ingredients, or they have an idea of the ingredients. The best way we would suggest to enter that is to build a recipe. And so to build a recipe, when you're searching for foods, you could look for that, like I said, that is an option, but maybe they make it differently. So maybe you want to have your red beans and rice. So at the top, they could add a recipe. They can call it whatever they want. And then we ask them about the ingredients and things to the recipe later. So it gets added to their meal. Once they've finished adding all their foods to the meal, we'll say finished with this meal. Once they go to add details, this is where they're going to ask them out, where'd you get all the steps for the building of the recipe. So this first one is the source question. And now, unlike the previous one where it was guided questions on, how much chicken salad, etc., now we need to look for all those ingredients. So now I would look for, and again, I'm just going to do specific ingredients. The list and the foods that you search in ingredients is different than the main search food. It is not to say that they're different foods. It's just that you're building a recipe. So the nutrition behind the ingredients in a recipe are different because it knows that you're building a recipe and you're building food, something that will have cooked things or raw things. So I'm going to say that I had kidney beans, rice, say brown rice. And I'm going to do this quickly, so I'm not going to put a lot of ingredients, but someone could put all the other ingredients that they added to their recipe. So we will, kidney beans, we'll talk about it in cups. So let's see, and this is going to ask about how much they made in a recipe. So I made a big batch, so I used a whole cup. And it's asking how I'd like to report the amount of other ingredients. So I'm going to say again in cups for rice. And again, I'm making, it was, as I was making it, it was dry. And how much did I add? I also added a cup. And this made 2 servings. Now it's going to ask me specifically how much I ate, and I ate 1/4 of those 2 servings. And let's say this time when I made my red beans and rice, I also added can anybody give me a suggestion of what I would add
Chopped
to it?
onions.
Onions, thank you.
Yeah. I don't know what people eat on jambalaya, but why not?
I don't either. I usually just have it prepared. And so then it would go through and ask me how it was prepared. They were cooked. This was not from a restaurant. Oops, I didn't answer. I clicked too fast. So is there any other fat or vegetable with oil? No. And for the onions, I will talk about slices. And I had a slice. Okay. So I'm going to make changes again to show you that, let's say I added another food or I'll add another meal. So we'll talk lunch. So this recipe is going to be associated with this user. So the next time they go in, they will also be able to see this recipe. So if it's something they've built before or something they ate more than once within the day, they only need to enter it once. And then when they want to add the recipe, there's a recipe button here. They can click it and there's my red beans and rice. It shows them what was in it. And then they can add it to the meal. And then they can go back to the search and then adding other foods to that meal. When they finish the meal and they were to go through the details question, it's going to ask them specifically for the second time you've added that red beans and rice, you don't have to go through all the ingredients again or anything like that. You just have to ask or answer, I should say, how much you ate of that recipe. And then additionally, if I added anything to that recipe. This time I did not add anything. So it's a little bit quicker of an add the second time once you've built the recipe the first time. So we would suggest for mixed dishes to have them either build a recipe or try to find something close, a close match. So for jambalaya, or as I typed in red beans and rice, there was red beans and rice as an option. It may not be the exact thing that they ate, but it should be close to what they ate. Next question is, for foods eaten at a restaurant, do we have participants respond with, I don't know what it comes to in addition to the food? For example, if someone had grilled asparagus at a restaurant, there was most likely fat and salt added. And how did they do that? How do they add that salt, fat, whatever else, if they don't know what was put in? So I'm going to add, again, I'm going to make changes, add some foods. I'm going to look for asparagus. Add it to my meal. Go through the details so I can add it. So this time I'm going to say it was fast food or a restaurant or other restaurant. How was it prepared? It was cooked. Were they from a fast food or a restaurant? So it will ask them that, and they could select yes. The food code assigned is from the restaurant and it is cooked with butter or margarine. You don't have to say it, but if they select food is from a restaurant, the FNDDS already puts that type of information into the calculations because that is from the database and they know that oil and fat were used in cooking.
And FNDDS recipes for cooked items like meats and vegetables include salt most of the time. So the salt's already in there.
All right, next question. How to log oat milk yogurt, or oat milk ice cream. So oat milk has become very popular. Unfortunately, FNDDS, the current version, and even the next version, surprisingly, do not have oat milk as an option. So if you were to search oat milk, you're not going to find it. So what do they do? What do you tell your participants to do? Well, let's tell them. There's two things that they can do. One, of course, is try to find something similar. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily, maybe almond milk. Again, I know the nutritional components are not the same. So this is where we would definitely probably recommend adding it as I can't find. So let's go through that pathway. They select I can't find. Yes, I am sure I cannot find it, and I'm going to add it to my breakfast. We'll finish with this meal, go through the details so that I can show you how we go through the I can't find pathway. So again, we're going to ask for the first question, the source question. Then we're going to ask, oat milk, what was it? Here you would pick whatever it is most close to what it is. So Deirdre, which one should I pick for this one?
Dairy substitute.
Dairy, thank you. And then here you would pick whichever is closest to the oat milk nutrients wise, almond milk, rice, soy. You can also pick other, which then would allow you to select, you could just enter in oat milk.
And all of those choices have a food code assigned to them. So she chose other and she put in oat milk. Well, the food code's going to be milk NFS. That's the food code assigned to it, which means the nutrients are going to be for milk NFS. So this is what we were talking about post-processing. If you decide it's worth it, and we just said that Thea and I did some research and found out that it did not make a significant difference, you would go in and find all of those other unfound food and then the other, and you'd say, okay, oat milk. Do I want to replace a nutrient? So everything has a food code assigned.
Salad with mixed greens, fruit, cheese, grilled chicken, dressing from fat, and casual restaurant. How do we enter it? So again, ASA24, this would be a mixed green salad. We do have several fast food salads in ASA24, but none of them included dressing. So the question is about whether the dressing was added or not. So what kind? So I think Deirdre gave me a couple options to search. I'm going to look, oops, go back, out of food. So you could look up, salad. It's going to give you just the regular salad. Salad is a mixed food, so it's one of the ones that have the multiple questions. Or another suggestion was to use the Burger King option. So there is a Burger King option with crispy chicken or grilled chicken. So I will pick the grilled chicken. So this one, if you add the fast food option, it's going to have less questions because it's already calculated that the fast food nutrients. If I picked green salad, it's going to have all of those questions where you actually enter every single ingredient that was in the salad.
Including chicken if it had
including chicken. Yes, I can actually.
That's an option.
Yeah.
Sorry, my phone is on silent, but it's still ringing. I apologize.
I don't hear it.
Oh, good.
So I'll just add green salad and then we'll go through these two quickly. So again, add details. So fast food, because it's already pre-made, prepared, you're just going to get how much did you eat. So one fast food order and then what dressing. So I did this bacon and tomato dressing and how much dressing. The next one is going to go into a lot more detailed questions. So grocery store, then we start adding all the different lettuces. If there was any meat, cheese, or egg, and if you do say meat, cheese, or egg, so this one's asking, we'll say chicken, it's going to ask you further questions about that chicken. How much chicken, pieces, cups, how much, other vegetables, And there's a whole list of different types of vegetables as well as other or don't know the kind. Fruits. Nuts. And toppings, croutons, chips, as well as the salad dressing and the amount of salad dressing. And then how much you ate. Okay. Veggie wrap, this is the next question. Whole wheat tortilla, cheese, lettuce, and other raw vegetables. So this one's a little bit trickier because we don't necessarily have vegetable sandwich as an option. We do have grilled vegetable sandwich. We'll get to the same place, but I don't know if respondents would pick that. So for this one, it might be where they could maybe build a sandwich, but make it a cheese sandwich, for instance, because it has vegetables where they go through and add all the different, oops, I went too far. So how do I get back? I just have to say yes to one question. Hold on. This is the frequently forgot foods. This is to, again, oh, I should just say yes to that one. It doesn't matter. This won't get me to go back. Pork foods. Okay. So for this one, let's say if they had a veggie wrap and it had cheese in it. So maybe we say cheese sandwich. Again, I spelled that wrong. If we go through the process of adding the details, we will be able to add all those ingredients. So you could say tortilla. It was whole wheat. It's a large tortilla. And then we'll say no spread. And cheese, whichever kind of cheese is on that sandwich. And then the vegetables, other, oops, forgot, it asked me more about my cheese.
And the reason it's asking so much about the cheese is because we chose a cheese sandwich, so cheese is the main ingredient, like just if you chose a meat sandwich, so that's why they went through so many details on the cheese.
But here they could talk about the other raw vegetables like cucumbers and avocado, mushrooms, sprouts. They could add eggplant as another example. All that type of stuff could be added. And then it's going to ask about the full amount I ate. All right. So the next question was about Chipotle burrito bowl with brown rice, black beans, salsa, all the ingredients. Again, we would recommend going through burrito self-prepared and then choose no shell eaten when prompted. I can walk through that if it would be helpful. Otherwise, I think I have a few more questions to get to. I know I'm running out of time. Truly hard seltzer. So again, truly hard seltzer is a newer food and it's not an FMDDS. So how would someone enter in hard seltzers or any type of alcohol like that? There is Mike's Hard Lemonade and hard cider, which are two close matches. So we would suggest that if you were looking up a food such as a hard seltzer, to look up, I don't think, yeah, it's not gonna, there's a beer option or alcoholic drink I'll filter by, and that gives us our three kind of beer options. There's also wine. If a lot of those drinks are wine based, they could also enter in a wine as well. They could also enter in I can't find and go through that process that way. Those are what we would recommend. Impossible burgers or veggie burgers made with pea or soy protein, sunflower butter, kinds of butter, dark chocolate. So again, these are foods that are not in FNDDS. The current one or the new one, they're just not popular in the US to bubble up to the food nutrition database. But we don't want to lose sight of them, nor do we want people not to use them. So we would recommend people putting them in through the unfound food pathways and handling the ingredients post-processing. So easiest method for logging in a deli sandwich, wrap, or several ingredients. I've gone through it a couple times today. I would definitely suggest entering in or picking a sandwich, and that lets you go through that process. Similarly, for salad kits, such as Taylor Farm Sweet Kale Chopped Salad, I would go through a salad pathway. And as you saw today, you can go through the multiple ingredients, and it will ask you about all those different parts to those bag salads. And then I did go through the I can't find food pathway, but that is one thing we would suggest. But before using I can't find what I'm looking for pathway, we suggest trying different search terms in the tool to find what you're looking for. Look for something similar, dishes like basic chicken with vegetables or sauce, and then choose kind of different ingredients or additions to that to get it to what they ate. If it's a food with an addition like Flip's yogurt, choose based on the food, and then ASA24 will let you add in additions like fruit, candy, something else to your yogurt. So for instance, those yogurts have the things on top, have them choose yogurt and then add in some candy as the additions. So let's see, I'll just do that one really quickly. Yogurt not frozen. So they can answer the yogurt like Yoplait, low fat, if it was flavored or not. We'll say it was flavored. We'll talk about the container we ate. It was a regular fruit size container. We ate one container. And then yes, we did add and it'll talk, they could then specify if it was specific chocolate candy, other kind, or other candy, other kind, and they could add it that way. And then it's going to ask them to ask about the amount that they ate. I know this is not looking like the little candies that we put in there, but again, it's just a proportion of what they ate. I picked a wrong one. That was more if I picked a hard candy. Sandwiches and salads can be built within this system. And then of course, the recipe feature is the other option. So trying to go through those pathways before you hit I can't find, but I can't find is also an option that they can choose.